Alrighty. Friday the 13th. How are we starting? Is the boat sinking? Alright, got a good tune here. Then we're going to talk a little bit about a lot of the BS going on. Because I can, sometimes I'm just totally, nothing matters but the music and the song and my interaction with it and some facts about it. And other times the song is just the first step to something else, I guess. So I don't know, a lot of shit going on. I've been playing on, I got a lot of songs, a couple I've been working on my own that aren't quite complete, but a lot of covers. And but I just haven't felt I've been able to engage. And this is, I've already done like 2 or 3 takes of this because I'm just not completely engaged because there's just too much going on. But I'm going to try and get something out there and get the ball rolling. So you want to be a rock and roll star? Well, listen now to what I say. Just get an acoustic guitar, take some time to learn how to play. And when your head's on right and your pants fit tight, it's gonna be alright. Then it's time to go downtown where the aging man won't let you down. Sell your soul to the company who are waiting there to sell plasticware. And in a week or two, if you make the charts, the girls will tear you apart. The price you pay for your riches and fame, was it all a strange game? We're a little insane. The money, the game, and the public acclaim. Don't forget what you are. You're a rock and roll star. Na 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 Yeah, a little messy. I kind of decided to sing it up in a higher register. I think it was still mostly in tune, but I could have kept it low and been like, So you wanna be a rock and roll star? Well, listen now to what I say. Just get an acoustic guitar, take some time, learn how to play. Instead, I went with the, oh yeah! Which is up against the top, I think there was probably a few points where, but anyway. But great tune. Great tune, the Byrds. Chris Hillman. I bet you 99.95% of you have no idea who he is. Well, he's a huge, but admittedly he is kind of just a quiet guy, but he was, let's see, the bassist. He grew up in Southern California, and he was a bluegrasser. He's friends with Herb Peterson, another guy who's, a big guy in the roots scene, but not well known. But so Chris Hillman was like a bluegrass guy in Southern California, played mandolin, and then he became the bassist in the Byrds. And then from the Byrds, famously Graham Parsons joined, and they did Sweetheart of the Rodeo, and then Chris Hillman and Graham Parsons left, not immediately, but they left and formed the Flying Burrito Brothers, which is one of my all-time favorite bands. They did a few albums, but with Graham Parsons in it, they only did 2 albums. And The Gilded Palace of Sin is one of the greatest albums ever. It's like a greatest hits. I tell you, I say that with complete confidence. And their greatest hits, which I bought that was one of the first. See, if you watch the movie Gimme Shelter by the Rolling Stones, about their 69 tour, I think it's called Gimme Shelter. And but when they get to Altamont finally, and the first band you see playing on stage is the Flying Burrito Brothers. They're doing 6 days on the road. classic tune. Taj Mahal's done. It's a country song, and then the hippies kind of took it over. Great tune. One of those tunes, a key tune in that moment, because that's one of those ones where you're digging in beyond the Rolling Stones. All of a sudden the Flying Burrito Brothers, who are pretty obscure, kind of forgotten. They shouldn't be. I don't understand. I mean, serious folks, just go get yourself the Gilded Palace of Sin or Greatest Hits. I listen to that all the time, and I mean regularly. Nightfly by Donald Fagen. These are just albums. Gaucho by Steely Dan. These are like just the albums that you go to bring you a specific place, and I love those albums. But and then Chris Hillman from there. He went on. He was in the Desert Rose Band, which I don't know much about, but apparently they sold a lot of records in maybe the late 70s, early 80s, throughout the 80s. And then he made some albums with Tony Rice, who he knew as before they were both famous. And you may not know Tony Rice, but he's probably one of the handful of top acoustic guitarists ever, flat picking guitarist. Doc Watson, Clarence White, Tony Rice. These guys. And then you got a lot of guys. There's a lot more great players now. It's easier to learn stuff. There's more people. There's more availability with the internet and stuff. So there's a lot more great players. But the true players, the thing I like about the older guys coming up, pre-internet kind of, is they did a lot of them. It was either dedication. You got the guys like the blues guys, the Claptons and Becks and Pages, these British kids who sought it. They had a lot of work to get the information to make these fucking to learn this music and get those blues records back in the 50s in fucking Britain after World War II and everything. And who locked themselves in the room and had no life until they came out, in their late teens when they got in the bands and but whatever. And then you got the guys who just grew up dirt poor, and that was all there was, and it was a great all there was. Like Glenn Campbell, one of the greatest musicians of the 20th century, and I say that because I've heard people who actually would be in that conversation say that. So let's put it this way: if you know about like the Beach Boys in the 60s and Phil Spector, and how there was like a session musicians that played on all the albums, Carol Kay and Hal Blaine, the drummer, and Carol Kay, the bassist, and Tommy Tedesco, and all these guys. He was a guitarist. But they all were like students of music. They knew how to read music and stuff. And Glenn Campbell didn't, and he was part of that, and that's how good he was. I mean, that was Los Angeles, and they had pick of who they wanted, and he was so good. There'd be 40 musicians in there or something with sheet music in front of him, and Glenn Campbell on guitar, just ready to play his guitar part. That's how good he was. Just a huge talent. And a classic example, one of those guys, he grew up, barefoot in Arkansas, I believe, and fucking poor as hell, but a happy family, And then, throughout the 70s and 80s, he was like the king of cocaine. He was fucking nuts, And you go back and watch the videos now, you can kind of tell. It's pretty funny. Like him on Carson and stuff like that. But, great stuff. So Chris Hillman, Glenn Campbell, these are all people. Graham Parsons, Clarence White, Tony Rice. These are bored people. These are true musicians. And you kind of get caught in this thing. It's like, okay, well, why aren't they as famous as Mick Jagger? Why? Or I wanted to say lesser music, like Taylor Swift. Okay, I gotta say it. So, and I'll give her. She writes part of her own songs, but it is still BS. Every one of her songs she enlists professional songwriters to help her complete them. So it's just not the same, folks. And no, not begrudging. She's still done and has a lot more talent and does a lot more of her own stuff than very high percentage of the people that we do have to be subjected to. So, but I do find it amazing that she just came out with that big endorsement of Harris. And so here's a girl who's making millions, and like the NFL revolves around her now. What a pathetic group that is. You still follow the NFL and are involved in that and think it's important. You're a fucking loser. Look at these scumbags. Like all of these scumbags, these former players, Michael Irvin, Warren Sapp, Shannon Shaw, all these scumbags involved in these, and Deshaun Watson, who's still playing and making millions, just assaulting and disrespecting and denigrating women constantly, and they're held up and people because they can catch a football. It's pathetic, man. You're involved in that. It's a slave trade, and you're a fucking loser. No offense to somebody very close to me, because I know he's a good-hearted, hard-working person, but the thing around you, and I understand, it's been a solid job for him and gotten him a lot of things, but what you lost may be more important. And so it's just a shame. So here's somebody, back to the Taylor Swift. She had a concert, I guess, canceled in Europe because there was threats of like an Islamic group threatened terrorism. And she's unable to put the thing with that this immigration, it's a crisis, worldwide crisis. And it's also a crisis of, I don't know if it's totally religious, because I will accept that there are Muslims that are sane. But there's still too many of them, and maybe it's a technological thing, as in they're just behind in but also the repressive governments they live under, but they don't like us. And not only that, it's like, okay, we're this, you're that, we don't like you. They're not cool with you being that. If you're gonna live in a country where, and there's plenty of examples of countries where there's nothing but Muslims, because they don't allow any other opinions here. And I know there's Christians and Jews in Iran and everywhere else, I'm aware of that. But for the most part, you're not gonna have any say, and they're gonna repress you, and they do not share a tolerance. And good-hearted fucking dumbass fucking liberals just won't accept that. And they just think we can change them. And it's like, in years, thousands of years or hundreds of years, possibly, because Islam did start well after Christianity, I believe, about 500, 600 years. So maybe they got to work shit out, but you can't just be like, okay, well, we're letting you in now. It's just not smart. That's all. Just think about it. Be sensible about these things, and they just refuse to. And if you say what I just said, now I'm a racist. Whatever, man. I've just had it. And this other thing about the threat to democracy. Hey, folks, all you camel toe Harris, and yep, I have no respect for that human being. She's one of those people. She's a well-prepared. She was that teacher's pet. Always had the answers, but all she knows is what she's supposed to know. She studied for that test and have it right. She doesn't care. Oh, I got this. And she has that faith, like, come on, I worked so hard and I've learned this so much that I deserve to get this and win or get the next step because I put the time and effort in. One of that shit. And that's all that they care about. Like, I've been this. Let me list off. I've been a district attorney, district attorney, a fucking senator, the vice president. Wow, me. I mean, folks, that's all they want. They don't give a shit. They'll tell you anything. I mean, but so now we got the last 3 elections. The party that's saying democracy is under threat. The last 3 elections. The 2016, Bernie Sanders was going to win the nomination. They conspired. That pig, Debbie Wasserman Schwartz, who's like a representative in Florida, sadly. I think in West Palm Beach area, perhaps. But just a pig. Go fucking Google a picture of her. Yikes. But it's documented. This isn't anything. This is but truth that they conspired to make Hillary the nominee. Same thing in 2020. I believe Bernie was going to win it again. And all those other people, they conspired and they put fucking Joe Biden in.
And then they all lied. They all knew. Any fucking sensible person knew, especially people seeing him every day or having access to him like Nancy Pelosi and the last person in the room, Kamala Harris. They knew he was fucking gone. And they let us go through it. And now, which brings us, now they've taken him out because they did that debate just so they could show the their followers, really, not the American people, that he is gone. So we have to replace him. Now Kamala Harris, not a vote cast for her. 3 elections. They had their nominee has not gone through the, is it legal? I guess you can't say legal, but the normal process, the democratic process of voting. 3 elections, not this one, not the last one, not the one before that, all 3. And they're the party that's protecting democracy? You fucking idiots. Wake the fuck up. Jesus Christ, what the fuck is wrong with you people? And let me tell you something. You got people who are going to fight you about supporting this asshole and the Democrats in general. You probably just should get them out of your life. Don't waste your time, you know? The worst one is, and I got several of these close to me, not close, but that I will not have no say in them being in my life. I don't follow politics. I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. Okay, then I hope the shit hits the fan because I know exactly what I'm going to do without any hesitation. You don't need people like that in your life. You know, that's just an ignorant, stupid person. Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. And here's the thing, dude, I don't know about you, but I've got 5 siblings and we're all, you know, over 50 and shit. So at that point, a lot of us, you're talking to your siblings on their birthdays, maybe the holidays, if you don't live near them. And the shit that these motherfuckers are bringing in is affecting you every day. So you tell me what's more important. No, I'm not advocating to blow up your relationships or anything, but you gotta think, what's more important? They don't want to hear about that. They don't want to talk about it at all. And yet your life has been turned upside down by this shit. And they're just like, oh, how's your kids doing? Fuck you. You people suck, man. You're fucking just gonna ruin this country and you don't care. For what? You people are so bad. You have no idea. And the best part, hey folks, I'm gonna be alright. I'll be alright. I got no problem. No matter what has to be done, I'll have no problem doing it. Will you? When you can't fucking order Uber Eats, you gonna be okay? You gonna be okay? You know what to do? You know what you gotta do? To make sure you have fresh drinking water and food to eat? You know what to do? You gonna be alright? You think the government is gonna help you then? You wanna go into a fucking FEMA tent with 10,000 fucking strangers and babies shitting and people stealing shit from you and just disgusting fucking people around you? That's your option if things get really crazy. The government's gonna help you. It's a bad scene, folks. The problem is, if you can't just look at what's going on and make a fucking assess who's being honest here, I don't want to know you. I don't think you're worth anything. That's a heavy thing to say. I didn't plan on that, but what the fuck, man? This shit is ruining people's lives. And anyway, if anybody says to you, if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have anything to worry about with any of the various things, tell that person to go fuck themselves and then do everything you can to fucking keep that person out of your life, you know? I got somebody like that in my life, a brother who's a fucking self-righteous douchebag. And yeah, he may see this or be told about it. You know, I got 5 siblings and maybe one of them might follow my shit, so I really don't worry about that shit too much anymore. Because it's just such a bummer to see the way, it's funny because the whole thing where we all had to mask up is unmasked
so much, hasn't it? So that's it. 1959. I'm out.